T-minus 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The impact of this adventure on the minds of men everywhere who are attempting to make a determination of which road they should take. We have examined where we are strong and where we are not, where we may succeed and where we may not. Now it is time to take longer strides. I believe we possess all the resources and talents necessary. We have never specified long-range goals on an urgent time schedule or managed our resources and our time so as to ensure their fulfillment. I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the earth.
President Kennedy gave the landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to Earth by the end of the decade speech in September 1961. The space agency NASA then moved into action. And instead of having lots of different goals, they now focused on one big goal. And also from that point onwards, everyone at NASA realized they needed to overcome 3 big barriers. The first was propulsion, how to propel Apollo 11 into space and still have power to bring it back safely to Earth. Secondly was navigation. How do you plot a path to the moon, land it in a specific place, and then get it back without getting lost in space? And thirdly, life support. How to sustain life in space when there's no oxygen or water or atmosphere to support life. So NASA went to work. And for propulsion, huge fuel tanks were used to propel the rocket up and through the Earth's atmosphere, overcoming the Earth's gravity. These tanks were then discarded, and the little landing module had 16 small rocket engines, enabling it to direct the module up and down and left and right. And when landed, it had 20 seconds of fuel left. For navigation, a computer was built to guide the Apollo 11 across 250,000 miles of empty space, to land on its surface within a few yards of the chosen spot, to guide the landing module from the surface to a rendezvous in lunar orbit, and then to enter the Earth's atmosphere within a 27-mile corridor, and finally landing it close to the recovery ship in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. It was incredible technology of its time. Life support at the heart of the module was this subsystem having oxygen, electric power, controlled temperature, hot and cold water, and even bathroom facilities. And the oxygen wasn't simply inhaled once and then discarded. No, the exhaled gas was cleaned to eliminate the carbon dioxide, recycled and reused. It was brilliant work done by the team at NASA. And why? Because they were interested in, dedicated to, and fascinated by the work they were doing. And just as NASA had to overcome 3 barriers in order to achieve their goal, I want us to think today about 3 barriers that we face as a church when it comes to achieving our goal. 3 areas to defy gravity. Now, last week I spoke about the mission and vision of The Forge. Our mission is to help people to find and follow Jesus. It's based on the mission that Jesus had to seek and to save the lost. Our vision to be a church community that unchurched people love to be part of, where people can belong before they believe or behave in a certain way. And our strategy is to be a hybrid church using the best of both digital and physical engagement. And today I want to highlight the 3 barriers we face, 3 battles that we need to overcome when it comes to the gravitational pull of every church, including The Forge. And I want to look at how we can, or how we are working to defy gravity and fulfill the mission that God has given to us. Now, this 3-week series is a bit different to our usual approach, and it's our vision series. So if you're watching for the first time today, please know that you're welcome. And I hope that today will give you an insight into why we do what we do. James Emery White, an author and professor of theology and culture and a church pastor, highlighted something that he observed in churches all across the world. He said this: a church, if left to its own devices, will do 3 things. It will grow inward, grow outdated, and grow old. And then he went on to say the leader's role is to prevent these three things from happening. Growing inward is creating church for me, for my needs, for my preferences, at the expense of reaching people outside of the church. Growing outdated is not moving with the times, not being willing to change or reshape how to operate as a church community. And growing old is, well, very evident across the church landscape of the UK. I was 26 when we started this church. I was young once. But the leadership team was made up of people in their 20s, 40s and early 50s. The problem is that I'm now 56. I'm older than everyone on that original leadership team because sadly, we're all growing older. And so to overcome the gravitational pull of becoming inward, outdated and old, we need to be outward in our mission, current in our approach and investing in the next generation. Jesus in his teaching focused a lot on being outward with regards to mission. He said these words, "You are the light of the world, like a city on a hilltop that can't be hidden. No one lights a lamp and then puts it under a basket. Instead, a lamp is placed on a stand where it gives light to everyone in the house. And in the same way, let your good deeds shine out for all to see, so that everyone will praise your Father in heaven." Now, good deeds don't save us. They're not the cause of us being saved, no. But they are the inevitable outworking of having been saved. We do good to others because God has been so good to us. Now, I don't know if you're like me, but I find the moon fascinating. I think that people have actually walked on the moon is quite extraordinary. And when it's a full moon, I'll sometimes get binoculars out and gaze at it. It's a rock, but it's beautiful, and it shines so brightly in the night sky. And yet, of course, the moon has no light. It's just a dead rock, but it reflects the sun's light so powerfully. And Jesus said, we are the light of the world. Why? Because we are to reflect the light of Jesus in how we live and how we treat and love others. Paul, the writer of many letters found in the New Testament, once wrote these words to some Christians in Corinth. He'd been writing about how some people have what seems like a veil over their eyes, so they just can't see the truth. But then he writes these words. He says, "But whenever someone turns to the Lord, the veil is taken away. For the Lord is the Spirit, and wherever the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom." So, all of us who have had that veil removed can see and reflect the glory of the Lord. The Lord, who is Spirit, makes us more and more like Him as we are changed into His glorious image. So our good deeds reflect the glory of God, and it's through these good deeds that people's perception of church and ultimately of Jesus is changed. I heard this said earlier this week, that our reputation as a church in the community reflects our theology in the church. So if our theology of being like Jesus is one of Him being generous, then this will be reflected outside. If our theology is only accepting those who already believe, this will be reflected outside too. So what are some of the Forge plans to be outward focused? Well, if you haven't signed up for My Street, then can I encourage you to do so? We want everyone at the Forge to be involved locally, where you live or where you work, to show the communities that we are for them and want the very best for them. So often church is known for what it's against, but we want to be known for what we are for. And I loved what my mum-in-law did on Bank Holiday Monday. She, along with a neighbour, organised a coronation tea party, inviting friends and those living locally to come and enjoy food, quiche and chat together. And around 20 people attended, and it was so good. It was building community locally. So come on, how could you be for your neighbours and those in your street? I mean, how about providing a meal for someone who's unwell or bereaved? Maybe some practical help in a neighbour's garden, or a car share to the shops. What about arranging a local barbecue one weekend, or getting involved in serving in one of the village or town groups? Will and Jenny Elphick help run a local lunch club in their village every month. So get involved and be a positive influence. To sign up and get ideas and updates of what others are doing, you can email becky.warnock@forgechurch.com. Research and plans continue for Straight Street, a rehab facility we're planning to establish over the next couple of years. We're looking to pull together people who are interested in or have a passion for this area of ministry, helping people find freedom from their addictions. So if that's you, we have a meeting arranged at 7 p.m. on Monday the 22nd of May at the High Suffolk Children's Centre in Debenham, where you can find out more, hear more of the vision behind this project, and possibly see where you might fit. Again, please email becky.warnock@forgechurch.com if you'd like to attend that. The base, our youth provision in Debenham, is changing. Instead of running a Friday night youth, we're looking to run, in partnership with the school and St Mary's in Debenham, a weekly post-school club consisting of games and activities and food. It's aimed at those who would usually go home to an empty house. But the bigger plans are to get funding to further develop the work in the school, offering 4 days of mentoring and helping with school trips, assemblies and lessons as required. And in partnership with the school to run a series of workshops aimed at parents and carers on topics such as budgeting, parenting, the LGBTQ and bereavement. We also want to use social media to communicate with parents and carers and have an online chat facility for young people to have a safe place to talk and share what's going on in their lives. We are currently in the process of finding new premises for our furniture bank and Moses project, and we want to bring both projects together and have a good storage and a safe place to pack the baskets and to sort furniture. And so our gift month is helping towards making these outreach things happen. Now, some of this will hopefully be funded externally, but much of it will be from gifts that you and I give. And so May is our gift month. So please do play a part in helping us reach our £40,000 target. We give away between 14 and 18% of our income to support local and global communities, and that's not including staff time. You see, I want us to be a generous church because I believe God has been so generous to us individually and to us as a church. So let's reflect that in being generous to our community. Now, that's some of the plans being around outward in our mission. What about being current in our approach? Well, Andy Stanley, a pastor who I love to listen to and learn from, says this, that we should marry the mission but date the model. Now, in other words, fall in love with the mission. Don't deviate from that. We must be passionate about helping people to find and follow Jesus, keeping it at the central of everything we do. It's our way of saying go and make disciples that Jesus said in Matthew 28. So marry the mission, but date the model. In other words, stay mildly infatuated with the model. In other words, how we try to accomplish the mission must be open to change and must be held lightly. As I said last week, so much has changed over the past few years, and it's a job for every church to work out how best to reach and disciple people and which strategies and tools to use. This is why I believe we need to become a hybrid church, meeting in person and online, maximizing the benefits of both. Because if we want to be part of the mission that Jesus gave to go and make disciples of all nations, well, what seemed impossible in the past is now possible through social media, streaming, podcasts, blogs, the digital revolution. Let me give you just a quick update on social media. Over the past 3 months, the last just 90 days, we've seen 15,000 views on our YouTube channel. That's an increase of 80% in just the last 90 days. On Facebook, we've seen an increase of engagement by 104%. We are reaching so many new people with the content that we're putting out, which I think is so exciting. So why do we put energy behind digital? It's because that's where people are. People are on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. And most people will come to our church first through our website, well before they'll come to our services. It's the modern day marketplace where St. Paul would go to debate with the Greek philosophers. Now, I have to be honest, it's not really my world, but I know that we need to be present, active and engaging with people online. Ben and the band do an amazing job at keeping us up to date with new songs. I know we all love to sing the old songs, but it's important that we stay current and relevant to the music being produced today for churches. We've intentionally looked to run our midweek groups in person and online, making the best use of technology there. We have access to Right Now Media, the Christian Netflix, where there is such a huge range of online resources to access on so many different topics and studies. The wealth of material is incredible. And we want to keep developing our Sunday online service. And to do that, we need to purchase some new cameras. At present, we borrow cameras, but we really need to own our own. And so part of the money raised in our gift month will go towards buying some equipment that allows us to get the video footage that we need. So let's marry the mission, but let's date the model and be willing to change, adapt, reshape things so that they can be more effective in realizing our mission. And finally, and the really controversial one, how are we investing in the next generation? Did you know that nearly 3/4 of young Britons now identify as having no religion? The number of under 16s in the Church of England has fallen by 20% in 5 years. 3/4 of Anglican churches have less than 5 under 16s in their congregation, and just over a third have none. Now, that's not to knock the Anglican Church, because the same is true across many denominations. So I'd call this crisis point. It's time to act and start putting energy into reaching the younger generation again. And if we're not intentional about it, it's not going to happen. So what are we doing to invest in the next generation? Well, we invest our resources towards it. Your giving allows us to employ Helen, Tim, and Em, who head up our kids and our youth work. They're involved in local schools as well as running programs for our kids and our young people. A pastor in the Further Faster network, that's a network that the Forge is part of, asked the question recently, what percentage of your total congregation is 18 years old or younger? I looked at Sunday's attendance across our kids, youth and adults, and 25% were under 18. So to invest in our young people is just so important. That's why Helen and Em are running a holiday club this summer. One day of sign up being open, 3/4 of the places were gone, and they're having to extend the numbers now. And the majority of those who signed up are not part of the Forge. How cool is that? That's why Tim runs residential, so that young people can get away and have some dedicated time with our brilliant youth leaders, worship and learn together in a different environment. It's why he's taking a group of young people to Croatia this year to help with some youth camps and to serve other young people there. It's why Ben Lasky has a band full of very, very talented teens and 20s. He involves them, he sets high expectations for them, and he develops them spiritually. It's why we have an incredible team of volunteers who give their time, energy, and passion to help lead across the various age groups. It's so cool that some of the young people are serving others too. Some of those in motion are helping in transit, our younger youth. Beth Cowling, who's 9 years old, was helping in Tot Street, our creche, and she designed a simple craft for the older little ones to do. She's 9 and she's serving. So why is it important to invest in the next generation? Well, just have a listen to Lois's story.
I think I became a Christian sometime, it was in kids' church. I think maybe 2013 was like the point where I was like, yeah, this is my faith and I want to take ownership of this. But I'd say it's been much more of a gradual process. I'd say when I said, yes, I want to become a Christian, that was me saying, this is my faith, I'm taking this. But actually, I wouldn't say then it was like, yeah, there I was. It definitely has been more of a gradual process. And even now, I think, sometimes I can feel closer to God, sometimes I can feel further away. So definitely gradual. I'm Lois and I'm a primary school teacher. I started coming to the Forge because I came along with my parents. Growing up, I'd say I went to church and I really enjoyed the youth work that went on and the kids' work when I was younger. But I'd say it wasn't really my own faith when I was growing up. I went to church and I had friends there, but I definitely went more for the social aspect of it. I'd say having that firm foundation from since I was younger, knowing the Bible stories that I was taught and having that foundation that I knew that Jesus loved me, and that he'd done all these things for me. I think growing up isn't easier when those Bible stories kind of came back round, but they had more of a meaning. So it built upon what I already knew. My kids worker, so I'd say Sam, growing up, obviously he was really good. He was always there. He challenged us when we needed to, so he was always really great. Matt Levitt, Tim Warnock, like my youth workers growing up, they were really good. And I had people from camp, like Summer Madness, who, while I was at Summer Madness, they'd be there for me, they'd pray for me, but then afterwards they'd still kind of check in. Yeah, I've had different people throughout kind of checking in on me. And then when I was at university, my student worker there, she supported me as well. So haven't really had one key person, but I've had different people pop up almost at the time that I needed them, if that makes sense. Like, it was clear that God put them there when they were needed. Although my whole life I've had people supporting me and praying for me, whether that was family or close friends, I'd say it doesn't mean that I've always kind of felt close to God. Like, sometimes I doubted, sometimes I felt further away from him. I wouldn't say I've just kind of been on this high just because I've known God my whole life or because I've grown up with that. I definitely think there has been ups and there's been downs. I'd say growing up, it was really helpful. When I was in 242, we had all these socials all the time, so it was nice to build those friendships with Christians who were like-minded. So even now, the group I have at the moment, I've actually known them for so long, and it was because we had those opportunities to just hang out, and I found that was really helpful. I'd say kind of encouraging me and encouraging others to go to the bigger camps like Suffolk Christian camps and Madness. Like, that was really helpful because those weeks, they're so intense, but they're so helpful at the same time to spend time around other Christians, to that opportunity to ask questions, and it's like no question is too big or too weird. Like, I found that really helpful. Because I had these key people in my life, I think I realised how important they were, even if they were kind of behind the scenes, but I knew they were praying for me. Or one-on-one, having that person that every week they came up to me and they said hi. I know how important that is. So for me now, I'm a youth leader, and I hope I can do the same for the young people, that I'm that person that they can come to if they need someone, that I'm behind the scenes as such praying for them. So yeah, kind of just leading on from what I've been led to do by others. Even now, the church is still investing on me. So a couple of months ago, I went on a leadership course, and I can see that people in the church are still there for me. People come up to me and check in how I am, and they kind of know me. So yeah, I'm really, really happy with what the Forge has done for me.
I'm so grateful to our kids and youth leaders who have invested in Lois over the years. And I'm so proud of Lois. You know, she spoke to me a few months ago about having a mentor, someone who could help her to grow in faith and make wise choices in life. I love her passion and faith in Jesus. But it's not just about 18s and unders, it's about the under 45s, because under 45s often have children and we desperately want to reach families. But it's not about ignoring an older generation, you know, my generation upwards. But if our focus and resources are on us, we'll not reach the younger generation. You know, for those of us 55 and over, I love that you're part of the church. In fact, the church has been built on your shoulders. So let's play our part in cheering on the next generation. Let's encourage them, mentor them, disciple them, train them to do what we do, because they're going to bring so much more energy. You know, our life experience and wisdom is so important, and the younger generation need role models. They need father and mother figures, people they can look up to, learn from, be honest with, aspire to be like. So let's not waste what we've learned. Let's draw alongside and be encouragers. I love what Paul writes to Timothy, a much younger man who he'd been mentoring, and he wrote these words. He says, "You have often heard me teach. Now I want you to tell these same things to followers who can be trusted to tell others." Do you see the layering? Older Paul reaches younger Timothy, who is then asked to find others like him, who will then teach others. One is to invest in another. And so, over 55s, let's just do that. Invest in the next generation is vital if we want to defy the gravitational pull of an aging church. And your giving over this month will help us to keep investing in the younger generation. It'll go towards the holiday club, the staff who oversee the kids and the youth work, and the schools work, and the kids and the youth material too. So if you would like to give as part of our gift month, you can click onto the QR code and make a donation towards our goal. You know, I love this church, and I want us to overcome the barriers, that gravitational pull to be inward and outdated and old. God has got so much more in store for us, and I'd love for you to be part of that mission, to get involved, to give or to pledge giving, to build community and to help people to find and follow Jesus. Hey, thank you so much for watching. Let us pray. Let me pray for us now. Father God, thank you that you are a God who loves to reach people who as yet don't know you. And thank you that you call us as a church to be part of that. Lord, I want to pray that you would help us as a Forge church to keep an outward focus. Help us not to become all concerned with stuff that's going on for us. Help us to have that outward focus. Lord, would you help us to stay current, to stay up to date? Would you help us to use the technologies that are around to help us to reach and fulfill the mission that you've given to us? And finally, would you help us to invest in the next generation? People like Lois who are now leading other young people. Lord, help us to be a church that equips them to grow in faith and to pass that faith on to the next generation after them. In Jesus' name, amen.
Jesus' blood and righteousness. Not in our trust, the sweetest friend, but wholly trust in Jesus' name. So again, my hope is built.
My hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. I dare not trust the sweetest fame, but wholly trust in Jesus' name.
Come on, every voice all around this place cries.
Cornerstone, weak and made strong in the Savior's love, and through the storm, He is the Lord, Lord of all. When darkness seems to hide His face, I rest on His unchanging grace. In every high and stormy gale, my anchor holds within the veil. My anchor holds within the veil.
Yeah, God, everything in us tonight declares that you are our firm foundation, our cornerstone. We put our hope and our trust in you. When it feels like so many things are chaotic and confusing, we put our trust and our hope in the living, breathing person of Jesus, the giver of every gift, the beginning and the end. Lift your name. As we're singing those lyrics, I can't help but feel and think of those people in Turkey and Syria that have gone through this terrible earthquake and the aftershocks and all of that stuff. And doesn't it feel like darkness has hidden God's face there? That darkness has covered that place. And it seems impossible that God can be in that God can work through that. But not only in Turkey and Syria and all of those affected places, but in your life, I'm sure, as well. There are places that seem just so dark that they have hidden his face. Jesus, light of the world, will you light up the darkness? Jesus, light of the world, will you give us courage to pray big and bold prayers? We declare your rule and reign over these situations, over these circumstances. Our God reigns. Our God reigns forever. Your kingdom reigns. And our God reigns. And our God reigns forever. Your kingdom reigns. Yes, our God reigns, and our God reigns forever. Your kingdom reigns. Yes, our God reigns, and our God reigns forever. Your kingdom reigns. Yes, our God reigns. Start declaring that over nations. Start declaring it over your circumstances. God reigns, and forever your kingdom reigns. In areas of darkness where you can't see, that our God reigns. It only makes the truth more powerful. That our God reigns forever. Your kingdom reigns. Yes, our God reigns. He reigns, and our God reigns forever. Your kingdom reigns. Come on, with all
I fight my battles. This is how 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 it may look like. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded. Sing that again. It may look like. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded. It may look like. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. You may look like I'm. 'Cause this is how I fight. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how it may look like. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how it may look like. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded.